Welcome back to the Bad Poker Vlog. It has been 2 years since I last posted a video. In that time, I think my game has improved tremendously. I have still been playing lots of cards, mostly 1-3 home games, 1-2 at the casino, and mostly at Cherokee. That's where we're headed today. I'm making the trip down from Knoxville, and I am uber excited to get back to it. After a pretty long trip, we finally arrive at Cherokee. This property has become like a second home to me. I have so many memories with friends here. It's nothing like the Bellagio, but we will take what we can get in the hills of North Carolina. In the past, this walk to the poker room used to put butterflies in my stomach, but that is no more, as I am completely focused and ready to get down to business. We buy in for $300, and we finally pop a squat at our 1-3 table, and we will not be moving for quite some time. Nothing too interesting happens until we look down at rockets under the gun. We're first to act. I raise it up to lucky number 13. It folds around back to the big blind, who throws in a call. The big blind checks dark. We go to a flop. It's Jack 6-5, 2 hearts. Really not a whole lot to be afraid of here with pocket aces. The big blind could have pocket 5s, pocket 6s, 6-5 suited. We are not counting pocket jacks because he likely would have 3-bet me pre-flop. The opponent did check in the dark. I will be betting though. I go ahead and bet $15. It's around half pot. The opponent does call pretty quickly. I put him on a jack type hand or 7-8, something like that, maybe a heart draw. We're headed to a turn, which comes the king of clubs. This brings a second flush draw on board. King is great for my range. The big blind checks again, and I do the same because I'm a follower with 0 leadership qualities. But hopefully me checking the king will induce a bluff from the big blind on the river, which is the 4 spades. 8-7 is the nuts. The dirty diaper also makes a straight. Hopefully the big blind takes my check on the turn as a sign of weakness. He does just that. He goes ahead and slides 2 greens out there for a total of 50 into a pot of 57. I don't see much merit in raising here in this spot. I could be smoked. He could have 8-7 or a sneaky 2-pair hand. I think it makes a lot of sense to just throw in a call, show him the goods, and hopefully take it down. That's what I do. I go ahead and make the call, show him the aces quickly. I think I'm best. The opponent flashes a king and then throws his cards into the muck. We take down this first pot of the night. A few orbits later, I look down at 10-6 suited in the small blind. +1 raises to 11. It folds back to the button, who makes the call. I make the call, and the big blind folds. We're going 3 ways to a flop. Out of position comes king 10-4 with 2 diamonds. I'm first to act, and I check with evil intentions of check raising if one of my opponents decides to bet. Unfortunately, it checks around. I'm more disappointed than I was on Christmas morning in 2007 when I asked Santa for a drum set, and all I got was 2 drumsticks. I will never forgive you for that, Santa. Going to the turn, it's a 3 of hearts. Changes really nothing. I check again. Under the gun checks, and the button decides to lead for 15. I contemplate raising here, but I have showdown value with my 10 and equity going towards the river with my diamond draw, and I'm pretty indifferent about the under the gun joining the party as well. So I make the call, hoping to see a diamond. Under the gun folds. So we're going heads up to the river now. It's the ace of diamonds, and we absolutely smash it. It's nice to run good. I check it over to the button once more. I know that he knows the line I've taken looks super weak. Even if he has nothing, I'm pretty sure he's going to bet. He makes our dream come true, even if Santa couldn't. The button bets $50, which makes me all happy and giddy inside. Sitting here with the effective nuts, the way the hand has been played. The only thing left to do here is decide how much to raise. I cut out a few red $5 chips, $35 to be exact, and then I add 4 greens on top, making it $135. Just praying to get called. The opponent doesn't waste too much time. He folds. Given how quickly he folded, he probably had a better 10 or just air. I'm happy to take this one down. I did miss out on a ton of value in these first 2 hands. Hopefully that trend does not continue. 10 minutes later, we look down at pocket quackers in the big blind. Under the gun limps in for 3. It then folds around to the low jack, who makes it 10. It gets back to the small blind, who makes the call. I make the call. The under the gun player makes the call. We're going 4 ways to a flop, and not before the small blind does his signature doggy paddle check in the dark. If you guessed that we were going to flop a set, you are absolutely correct. The flop comes ace 4 deuce rainbow. Couldn't ask for a better flop. Ace high board, flop in the bottom set. It doesn't get better than that. Unfortunately, it checks around on the flop. It's not the end of the world. If it's checked to me on the turn, I will definitely be betting. The only card I don't want to see is a 3, which puts 4 to a straight. The dealer gives us a queen of diamonds on the turn. I don't hate it and I don't love it. If the under the gun player has queens, then that's the way she goes. We're going to lose a lot of money here, but we can't be afraid of monsters under the bed. Somewhat surprisingly, the small blind leads out for 15. I'm pretty sure he's just messing around here. I'm going to go ahead and bump it up to 50 to see what the under the gun player wants to do. Under the gun and +1 players both snap fold, and then the small blind decides he's done, he's going to play for all of it, and I can't get my chips in fast enough. The river is a 7 of diamonds. It changes nothing unless he has pocket sevens or he hit a backdoor flush. I flip my ducks over expecting to win, and we do. The opponent doesn't show. He throws his cards into the muck. I mixed it up a few times with this guy, and he is super nice. He immediately rebuys. There's absolutely no quit in this guy. Exactly 3 minutes later, I'm ready to swear allegiance to the queen. In this case, 2 of them. We look down at pocket queens and the $6 straddle on the button. It folds around to the low jack, who makes the call. The hijack folds, and then the cutoff comes along as well. The price is going up. Inflation hits hard at this table. I make it 30 to go. The low jack and cutoff both call. We're going 3 ways to a flop in position of king, king, 3, 2 hearts. 2 kings on the flop makes it a lot less likely that my opponents are holding one, so I'm not too upset about there being an overcard on the board. The low jack has to be reminded that she's first to act, which is always a good sign of a new player. She checks, cutoff checks, and I down bet to 25. I would make this bet with all of my ace high combinations, which is likely what I would think I had if I didn't know my own hand. The lady in the low jack makes the call and the cutoff folds. We're going heads up to a turn, which is a 6 of hearts. Flush draw gets there. We're now losing to pocket sixes, pocket threes, and obviously any king X that she might have slow played on the flop. She checks it over to me, and I go with another super small size of 35. If I get raised here on the turn, I'm probably going to have to fold. She practically insta-calls. We're going to a river, which is the ace of clubs, another card over our pair, and also a card that the low jack could reasonably call down with. She checks it over to me for a 3rd time, and what happens next I'm not super proud of, but I did go ahead and check back, flip over the queens, and we take this one down as well. I hate the way I played this hand here. It's super important to know the size of the pot and how much to bet, and that was a very, very poor demonstration of what to do.
Are you stupid or something?
I'm as stupid as stupid does.
Next up, I look down at queen jack suited and the hijack. It folds around to the low jack, who raises to 10. A 3-bet from me here wouldn't be getting too out of line, but I elect to just throw in a call to see a flop with a pretty hand. The cutoff is getting a good price. He makes the call. Surprisingly, the button and both the blinds fold, and we go 3 ways to a flop with a hand that has more potential than Cooper Flag in 7th grade. It's a good one. It comes queen 5-4 rainbow, and the low jack puts in a c-bet of 15. I don't know that my hand is strong enough at this point to raise, and I don't really feel the need to bloat this pot. I go ahead and call the 15, and the cutoff folds. We're going heads up to a turn. It's a 10 of diamonds. We're now losing to queen 10 and pocket 10s, which we previously had dominated. These are both holdings the low jack could reasonably have. The 10 on the turn is not slowing our buddy down. He puts a stacker right out there equaling $50. This puts me in a pretty interesting spot. I have top pair with an okay kicker. I think my hand's a little bit too strong to fold. I'm going to go ahead and make the call and see what the river washes up. The dealer gives us a 10 of spades. I'm not hating it too much. I do hope the low jack checks it over so I can show down my queens and 10s with a jack kicker. He has the ability to really put me in an awkward spot here. Thankfully, he does not. He checks it over, and we have the same hand. Honestly, not too bad of an outcome here. We will happily absorb that tiny bit of profit into our stack. This is what our stack is looking like a couple hours into the session. We're up a little over $400, but like LeBron, I have no intentions of stopping anytime soon. Next relevant hand I see is ace-jack offsuit in the small blind. A few limpers decide to get involved before the cutoff makes it 10. The button folds and we're left with somewhat of a decision. My initial reaction is to put in a 3-bet to isolate the cutoff. He has been super tight, so in my mind I'm thinking I'm likely flipping at best. The devil on my shoulder reminds me that of the hands that I've shown down up to this point, a lot of them have been monsters. I succumb to the pressure and 3-bet to 35. The plan is working out so far. It folds back around to the cutoff and makes the call. We're going heads up to a flop out of position of king, queen, tray with 2 spades. Obviously I flop a gutter to a 10, but all things said, this is a pretty great flop for my range. I'm going to have most of the sets and 2-pair hands, so I'm going to go ahead and c-bet to 15. Alarm bells start going off in my head immediately as the tightest player at the table snap calls my c-bet of 15. We're headed to a turn. It's a 9 of clubs. It doesn't change much besides Jack 10 making the nuts. We go check check and we see a river, which is a 7 of clubs. Given the cutoff's image, I don't feel too comfortable stabbing at it with ace high. For this reason, I go ahead and check and he snap checks it back. We flip over our ace high expecting to lose, and of course we do, but I was completely perplexed by what he showed. He flips up ace king, good for top. I knew he was a tight player, but I had no idea how tight. Tighter than a nun, apparently. Okay, that was probably inappropriate. A few hands later, I peel king queen offsuit in the cutoff. We see a few limpers before I bump it up to 15. Folds around to the middle position player who makes the call. Hijack makes the call. We're going 3 ways to a flop in position. The flop comes ace 8-8 with 2 diamonds. Clearly this isn't a great flop for my actual hand, but being the pre-flop raiser, I'm going to have a lot more aces than the MP and the hijack, although trip 8s is a lot more likely for both of them than it is for me. Regardless of my fears of being up against an ace or trip 8s, I'm going to go ahead and c-bet for 15, repping a big ace. The middle position player quickly makes the call. He likely has a medium strength ace. I'm just hoping he has a flush draw of some sort. The hijack folds, and now we go heads up to a turn. The dealer puts out the queen of clubs, so we upgrade to second pair. The middle position player checks it over to me again. The wishful side of me is hoping that he's on a flush draw. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and bet 25 to see what he wants to do. If I get check raised here, I'm probably going to fold faster than Tristan Thompson, because anytime anybody over the age of 60 check raises me, it's never a good sign. Luckily, he just calls. We're going to see a river. It's a 7 of diamonds. It's about as bad as it gets. We're now also losing to a flush, which is what I put him on. We're also losing to any ace and trip 8s, which he definitely shouldn't have because I would have gotten raised by now. He checks it over to me again, and I've never snap checked back faster in my life. But yet somehow we have the winner. We're going to take down this medium-sized pot. After about an hour of looking down at garbage, I peel snowmen in the low jack. Per usual, we see a few limpers before I make it our standard size of 15. Folds to the big blind and makes the call, and then the under the gun player, who was the perceived newbie at the table, decides to raise it on up to 80. She made this same play the very last hand and showed down queens and scooped a pretty good pot. With that information floating around my brain, I think it's pretty unlikely that she has another big pair. I take a few seconds to study the big blind who called the 15. I don't really want to call the 80 and have him feel priced in to call behind and go 3 ways to this flop. I then realize the lady under the gun only has about 180 behind. Really don't want to throw my hand away, and I make a bit of a risky play and I go
all in.
All in.
Is exactly right. We're not messing around. I'm in there like swimwear, baby. The big blind quickly folds, and the nice lady doesn't have much of a choice, unfortunately. She cannot fold. She calls. We're going to see her run out. My favorite dealer, Valine, gives us a safe flop of 6-4 deuce with 2 spades. I put the lady under the gun on something like ace king, ace queen, so I'm thinking all I have to do is dodge an ace or a king or running spades. The turn is great. It's a 4 of clubs. The river is fantastic. It's the 8 of clubs, giving us the second nuts. Can't ask for a better run out with pocket 8s there.
Boat.
You can hear the under the gun player let out a naughty word. I'm not too convinced I was ever behind. After a few seconds of deliberation, she finally slides her cards to the dealer face down, and we wish her the best of luck at the slots. In this one, we see the Doyle and the big blind. It's almost sacrilegious not to play this hand at least once every session. There's no real need to go over this hand in depth. I just want to prove I'm not a total nit. We end up flopping top pair and take this one down. It's always nice to win with 10 deuce. The next interesting hand we see is king queen offsuit in middle position. I opened smaller this time to $10, mainly just because I feel bad for running over this table. The player to my left is the only caller. We're going to see a flop heads up. It comes king queen jack with 2 spades. We flop top 2 pair on a very connected board. I lead out for around half pot. We get snapped off. We're going to a turn, which is the magical king of hearts. We have the stone cold nutter butters. Only thing left to do is to figure out how to get paid. I go with another small sizing of 20, and surprisingly we get min click to 40. This is a dream scenario. Unfortunately, our opponent only has about $50 behind, and I'm not waiting around for this. I'm just going to go ahead and stick them all in, and he calls. Amazingly, he turns over ace 10 for a flop joint. We turn the absolute world and crush his soul. It was a literal turn of events. I do feel bad for him, but I also don't. I can't remember a time where I've ran this well. It is really refreshing. It makes you want to play poker non-stop, but gotta remember to keep a cool head. This is not how it goes every time. Make sure to listen closely here. We're gonna hear some pretty devastating news.
Move the fan. The phone, man.
I have nothing against this guy, but he was the only dealer who didn't like me having my phone on the felt. It is my fault. I should have a case to set up on the rail, but yeah, it kind of sucks. Snap this picture before heading to a new table. I decided here that I wasn't going to film anymore. You know, I do like to break the rules here and there, but I just didn't want to be disrespectful. Looking back on it, I wish I was disrespectful because I go on an absolute tear building a massive stack, and then there's a seat open in the 2-5 table. I hop in that and I go ballistic. Right when I sit down, I flop a boat firsthand and get bluffed into, capitalize on that. I was flopping sets, flopping flushes, turning flushes, rivering straights. Just about everything that could have gone well went well, and then I made a hero call with ace king top on a very, very dangerous board. It was a $500 river bet into a pot of about $1,500. Biggest pot of my life, scooped that one. Just an unreal session. After a grueling 13 hours, it's time to rack up the biggest win of my life, $300 into $3,200. I'm exhausted, time to get some sleep. Just a great, great day. If you guys made it all the way through, it's much appreciated. There will be more on the way, and this is Alfie. He doesn't like being held apparently, but yeah. Stay tuned for the next video, and it'll probably be in Texas at the lodge. So say bye, Alfie. Say bye, buddy. See you guys.